Yo guys, what up, what up, what up, what up, what up, what up, what up? It's the kid, 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 it's the kid. So look, man, we are here for what I think has actually been one of the toughest lists that I've had to do. The amount of times that I mean, basically this was really hard because I had to make some difficult decisions. So first of all, I think me and Machine said, actually no, Machine said to me that let's do top 10. I said, nah, let's do top 5. I tried doing a top 5, then I said, Machine, let's do a top 10 because it was still hard. So obviously we have Machine here again after he was doing we did the whole top 10 cartoons thing, and we have Football Hot's member, friend of the show, man behind the mind, who said he has to be on this. I said, bro, if you want to be in this, get on it right now, bro. So man behind the mind, how are you, bro?
I'm great, man. Thank you. And I'm a really huge fan of yours, I guess. Basically, and I'm also a huge contributor. I really enjoy your content on the Half Football channel, and also I'm a Hazard lover. So everyone on the internet is gonna hate me now. So it's all go ahead.
It's cool. So basically, so look, I mean, before I don't want to reveal any of the names, but just to your thinking behind the list. So I'm going to go first to Machine. So when you were making the list, what did you what did you come through many difficulties and so forth? What was so hard for you when you were making the list?
It's super hard, obviously, because for every choice that I made, I could have made 2 others, probably, except for the last, probably for the last positions that, like the top 3, I'm pretty solid on that. I'm pretty sure about that. But everything else is sort of, it's up for grabs, really, between a choice of 5 for each of them. And I tried to be, with my choices, I try to be as diverse in terms of genre as possible, because otherwise it would have been, I'm very RPG intensive in terms of what my favorite games are. So, I try to mix it up a little bit and have the best of each genre there, like the best RTS, the best FPS, the best, in my view. And yeah, that's all in there, I think, in the top 10.
So what about you? So man behind the mind. So what kind of difficulties did you go through when making the list?
Honestly, making a top 10 list of video games is really difficult. You can't narrow it down. I mean, honestly, you can't even say what is the best top 10 video game of all time, because you're just basing it off personal opinion. So, but I mean, I did narrow it down, and honestly, this top 10 list will not service justice to any other games that are out there right now. But these are, like, in my opinion, what I made from the list is what really impacted, like, the gaming community, to even YouTube, to even what we even do gaming now. And there's going to be a lot of games that are probably controversial, quote unquote. But honestly, we need to talk about them, because we have, of course, other games, but these games need to have its own recognition in terms of, and everyone has their own video games. Everyone was raised and grew up in their own era. But this is the games that I think that even now we need to discuss. So that's what I think I narrowed it down to.
Yeah, I think basically for me, I try to form a balance between how it's impacted me and how it's impacted the industry and the impact it's made at the time. So I was going through the list. I was about to say, also, I think even me and Machine were saying this, is that I also want, because I'm much more of an RPG person, so I go more towards RPGs. But I said, let me try and vary the genres as much as possible. So I try to get an RPG in there, a sports in there, a platform in there, an FPS in there, an action game in there, and so forth. So, and yeah, so basically, but what was just so hard was I tried to take my personal bias out of it and say, how, even if I may have enjoyed this game, did this game really have that much of a great impact beyond just my subjectivity? And that's what I did. And again, look, guys may find this crazy and everything, and there are 2 games here that will shock people. And I'm going to just try and give my perfect explanation as to why these 2 games are here, which I don't. There's one game here that I don't think anyone has played. or most people haven't played this one game. And this second game, people will be shocked I included this game instead of another one in the same series. But I'll explain why. So, all right, so let's kick things off. So basically, so we'll just do one by one, and so this is our number 10. So my number 10, this was tough, but my number 10 is Uncharted 2.
Oh,
so just to give you a little thing, like right now, I'm currently playing Uncharted 4, and I've played Uncharted 3. Now, the last minute change I did was I took out Uncharted 3 and I put in Uncharted 2. And the reason for that is, you may say on face value Uncharted 3 is a better game, but the reason why I put Uncharted 2 was it was such a massive leap from the first game that I would give it a dub, because 3 is better than 2, but 3 is not that much of a leap over 2 than 2 is Uncharted. And for me, there are still 2 sections in Uncharted 2 that still, for me, are some of the craziest things I've ever done in a video game, and they still etched into my mind. So for me, I thought that based on its impact, I felt Uncharted 2 was a much greater impact on when it came out than I felt Uncharted 3 was. So,
but why are you dissing on Uncharted 1, which was an amazing game in its own right?
No. Look, I mean, Uncharted 1 was a really good game, but for me, 2 took it to the next level. Like 2 was just like, it's you know what it is? It's like Terminator and T2. Terminator 1 is a damn good film. T2 takes things to the next level. So I think for Uncharted 2 just took things to the next complete level, man. So yeah, Uncharted 2 is my number 10, man.
I have to agree with you, HH, on that one. I mean, it is a massive leap. I mean, when you play Uncharted 1, you already were blown out by the fact that you're in this jungle and you don't know what's happening. But then to add Uncharted 2, when you're in like Istanbul and trying to like hijack I'm actually playing it right now as we speak. I did play it before, but I'm playing it again, and I noticed how leap and like big it was, and just like, whoa, we're not in the jungle anymore. We're in the real city now, boys. So you'd be going in like rural areas, and you'd be gunslinging, shooting, and trying to find it. But it's a really great adventure game, and I rate it as one of my top 20, top 25 at least in my list too. But it's really good. I recommend it to anyone.
I would. I actually have the remastered version for the PS4 that they released. They released all
that one. Yeah, that's one that I played. Yeah,
the first 3. So I played number 1, Uncharted, back in the PS3 days, and I thought it was an amazing game. I started playing Uncharted 2 recently, like in the last in 2019. And I thought it was a little trigger happy with the QuickTime events, and the controls didn't feel quite as tight as in the first one. But I have to give it some more time. You know, it did seem a lot more epic in scope and a lot more ambitious. You could feel that they pumped a lot more money into the game. So I'm going to take you on your word, HH, that it's a superior and a markedly superior game to the first one.
Okay. So, Machine, what's your number 10?
My number 10 is StarCraft of Blizzard, which I think is the greatest RTS game ever made.
Wait, better than Red Alert 2?
Well, it's there's a few that we could put up there, and Command and Conquer is one of them. Red Alert you mentioned, right?
Yeah.
I guess Age of Empires and yeah, but I would say Command and Conquer is probably the one that's the most that rivals it the most for the top spot. But I think what they managed to achieve with having 3 perfectly balanced or as perfect as close to perfect as you can get, perfectly balanced species and factions, and that were so wildly different at the same time is a tremendous achievement. And also the lore behind the game was really well put together. It was back in the day when manuals actually meant something. They were almost like an essential supplement to the actual game. And I remember reading the manual, and the story was written by this guy that's like a legend at Blizzard that since has retired. infamously, named Chris Metzen, and it was super well written, and it really immersed you into the world. And I felt, man, if they make a big budget movie out of this, I'll be first in line.
Well, no, and also like the game literally is a business in South Korea. Like there are people who I think earn hundreds of thousands playing StarCraft in South Korea, and they're literally like
to this day,
stadiums of people that play the game in South Korea.
to this day, it's crazy. It's like it's almost like it's a religion, man.
Yeah.
It's a fantastic game. Super, good music, good ambiance, good, amazingly crafted gameplay, and the works, man. Just a masterpiece at every level.
Okay. So man behind the mind, what is your number 10?
All right, so my number 10, actually I have it right here. I'm gonna show it to you. So my number 10 has to go to this game right here, 007 GoldenEye. Because this game, I'm telling you, I played it during the time where I was a 90s kid, so I was born in 98, and I grew up with like the N64, the PS1. But when you have an N64, not only you will have the other game, it was like Super Mario World or something like that, you would have this game also like that. Because this game, I'm telling you, this game prophesized, not like prophesized, but like mainly it brought the world, the world of first-person shooters. And in terms of like even being a badass character like James Bond, when at the time when it was really idolized. And this game, I'm telling you, it brings everything that you like about James Bond to life. And to think about during the time where the technology back then was still young for gaming, to escalate at this level when they made GoldenEye 007 is nuts. And especially like when you were doing the gadgets and the music was amazing too. You'll be like in the world of like James Bond, like crawling around just trying to shoot people, and the aim system was like a little bit wonky, but then at the end of the day, it made up for it because of the gameplay, and then plus you'll be meeting with other characters. But honestly, it brought the world the idea of like we can bring, like, even though Doom was there, of course, for like first-person shooters, but 007, I think that it really brought out the world of first-person shooters.
No, yeah. I mean, because I remember again, this is just taking me out of it because I didn't really play GoldenEye that much, but I just remember obviously in school where everyone used to play it, and I think it's made the FPS sexy, because before GoldenEye, FPS was sort of like, oh, this is for all the PC gamers and so forth.
That's where I wonder
where everybody, the cool kids played it, the sports kids played it, everybody played GoldenEye.
Okay, so that's where I want to interject. I'm sorry, I don't want to be shitting on your choice, man, but
it's all good.
If I were to pick one of the most overrated games of all time, it'd be GoldenEye, because if we do a separate segment, that would be like in one of my top spots for most overrated games. The reason being that it might have really changed things for the genre in the console world, but the console world was light years behind the PC in terms of what the FPS genre could offer. People were playing Quake 2 and what's the name of that game that people still play to this day that they're obsessed with?
It's not CS:GO, right?
Team Fortress or whatever.
Oh, what's it?
Or whatever. It's like a player phenomenon.
Counter-Strike. Is it Counter-Strike?
Counter-Strike, yeah.
Counter-Strike, yeah. CS:GO.
And to be honest with you, to this day, I think the FPS genre is a genre, just as there are certain games that are more catered to the console, I guess you could say, even though not these days, because you can just plug a controller in the PC. But when you add like the distinction between the controller and the mouse keyboard apparatus,
that's a big thing, because console, the controller control and the mouse control, those are two separate different things, and everything. And that's why I don't like. Basically, I don't want to spoil it because there's something in here which just is perfect for what you just picked, but I don't want to spoil the thing. So let's move on.
Let me just finish my point. Then there was the fact that it was a multiplayer, right?
And
me as an FPS gamer on the PC, that these people were like sitting around a TV looking at a cramped square, lurching along at like 5 FPS, and thinking it was super fun. You know what I mean? When I was playing in the comfort of my own home on the internet against people from all over the world. But yeah.
No, it's not right. But even if, again, I wouldn't put in there, I can't deny its impact. All right, number 9. Now, this may be a slightly controversial argument that people would not want to say, but I'm gonna explain why it's on here. The Legend of Zelda, Wind Waker. Now, people will say, what about A Link to the Past? What about Ocarina of Time? For me, I feel that Wind Waker is one of the most unique video games and one of the most slept on video games, I think, of all time. I think, obviously, rightfully so, Ocarina of Time got all the plaudits and got all the praise and so forth based on how it did with regards to bringing 3D and doing 3D really well. But for me, Wind Waker, the visuals of Wind Waker, the artistic choice, the cell shading, how it looked like a cartoon, the animation of Link himself, how the world was created, how it looked almost like a Disney cartoon. I just felt artistically and stylistically, it stood out a lot more than Ocarina of Time. And I just felt when you play Wind Waker, how they were able to create that world and how well they were able to do it. I just felt, for me, I respect the impact of Ocarina of Time, but I just felt Wind Waker was more unique and it stood out a lot more. And I still think even to this day, you can play Wind Waker and it's more timeless. Because when you play like a Ocarina of Time or any of these games, you can tell, oh yeah, they're amazing, but oh yeah, they're amazing for that time. Wind Waker, because of the style that they chose and the visuals that they chose, you can play that game at any time and it will still be quality based on how timeless the visuals are. So for me, look, I know guys will say I'm crazy. Legend of Zelda, Wind Waker, man.
I don't think it's crazy at all, actually, and I agree with you wholeheartedly. It's the Zelda franchise, as you know, prior to Wind Waker, was already touted as like this huge phenomenon. Every single game that they launched was instantly considered a masterpiece before people even got around to actually playing it. And I never understood what all the hoopla was about, I was, right there in the front lines back in the NES days, very jazzed to buy the original Zelda game, if only because it had the golden cartridge, which stood out.
Oh yeah, I remember that one. Yeah.
And I was like, man, this must be the greatest game of all time. And then I popped it in, and I was like, I just couldn't get into it. Couldn't get into the second one either. I missed out on the Super NES one, A Link to the Past. The one
that was an iconic game. A Link to the Past was a iconic game.
Yeah, it is. I've actually played it since, and I sort of get what all the hoopla is about, but the first game to really impact me, and I finally understood how quality the Zelda franchise was, or the potential for that it had, was with Wind Waker. Wind Waker had a totally different texture to it, a totally different approach, and it's the first one that really I resonated with. And I love the sailing parts and how expansive the world became. It seemed like so contained and so kidified, and then all of a sudden you see that the game is a lot more epic than it lets you in on.
Amazing. Amazing. All right, so Machine, what is your number 9?
My number 9, drum roll. It's I gotta Duke Nukem 3D.
Whoa!
Oh!
But I had to put an FPS in there, and there's so many that are vying for the top spot for me. It was between Unreal Tournament, the original one, which is the first game to really get the multiplayer scene, bring it to the next level, because it was the first FPS that was solely dedicated to multiplayer. Didn't really have a storyline or any of that. And there was Doom, of course, which is iconic and really broke the mold in a lot of respects. Wolfenstein 3D, which I remember playing and loving as well. And this game that I was absolutely obsessed with, and it's one of the few games that I actually got to the top echelons of the multiplayer scene, which is Dark Forces 2 Jedi Knight, which I rate as one of the very best FPSs of all time. It sort of fell under the radar since release, but unjustly, in my view. But why Duke Nukem? Duke Nukem.
But wait, isn't Duke Nukem the game which was sort of like they're trying to ban because of all the nudity and the violence and stuff?
Kinda.
Yeah, it had all of that, and it was the game that was butting heads with Quake at the time. Quake was the id Software, sort of like the spiritual successor to Doom, the Doom franchise, and it took a completely different approach. It had a genuinely 3D engine. And Duke Nukem 3D, ironically, wasn't actual 3D. It was just the illusion of 3D. There's like 2D plus. But Quake had that. I could never get into it because it had a very like grim, dark aesthetic.
Yeah, I mean, basically, Quake seemed too gamey for me.
Yeah, too gamey, no storyline. I always like a good storyline with my video games, and had that PS1 aesthetic, that blocky sort of deal that the infancy of 3D gaming had. But Duke Nukem 3D was the first time that I remember going to like these cyber cafes when cyber cafes were a thing with buddies of mine and doing pulling all-nighters, just hacking away at each other at this game, and it's amazing memories. The game is hilarious in its presentation. The Duke himself is a really funny character. The storyline is engrossing and really tight controls and had everything, man. But for me, the greatest FPS of all time.
Honestly, that's a bold claim.
I'm not saying anything. But basically, before I go to Man Behind the Mind, this just shows you how wild this stuff is. I've literally just had to make an alteration to my list just now. So I just made another alteration to my list because there's a game that I just thought I was but okay, but fine. But we'll see. So Man Behind the Mind, your number 9. Number 9.
Let me say something with Michael, and then I'll go back to my list. So I like the Duke Nukem franchise. I just hated what they did with Duke Nukem Forever. I hated it.
Yeah, it was terrible.
It was terrible, and
I agree with you.
I feel like it needs to go back and do it like justice one more time, because honestly, it was a
great. It should definitely. I mean, it's such a tragedy, and it became sort of like a running gag of like this thing that kept being perpetually delayed and never was going to be released. Sort of like the Guns N' Roses album, Chinese Democracy.
Yeah.
That was to music. Duke Nukem Forever was to video games. And then when it finally releases, it's like a hot turd.
I like what you try to do, but it's not gonna work out now, man. It's not.
Yeah.
But let's see. So my number 9. Well, this was during the time where the PlayStation 2 era was, of course, the biggest moments of the entire gaming community wise. Now, before, I think people were trying to experiment if you could use different controllers to play video games. In this one in particular, I feel like it should be shouted out. Guitar Hero, man. Almost in every house. I know HS, you're gonna hate me on this, but listen, but hear me out. So
the top 10 video games, not apps.
Oh my gosh, come on now. But I mean, in a gaming sense, it kind of changed the dynamic. Like you could I mean, there was many experiments of getting brand new controllers, trying to put it in, and it doesn't really work out. But when I think what's his name, Red Octane, really come out with like Guitar Hero, and brought the world of music and gaming, and people started to buy guitars and starting to play together during that era. It really changed the atmosphere.
Wait. Did you just say Guitar Hero?
Yes. Oh damn! I'm gonna get kicked out.
HH, I told him this was a top 10 video games list, not a top 10 apps.
Okay.
Carry on.
But teach his own, man.
No, I mean it is what it is, man. I mean, people nowadays still play religiously, and I can tell you for a fact, people. I mean, from what I know, they do, and really, at least for me, it brought the world of music in terms of like if you're I don't know, I don't want to claim anything, but like when I was growing up, I don't really know music that well, but when I played Guitar Hero, I really was inspired of like, other bands, and I look into other bands, and goddamn, nice point. And yeah, man, but pretty much I feel like this game is one of the top 10s we need to consider too.
Yeah, there's no right or wrong answer.
Wait, real quick. Let's do this. Let's quick super chats from Sean Walsh. Thank you for the super chats, Sean. Is that Vino Machine?
It is.
Mario 64 is the GOAT. No, it's not. What wine are you drinking, Machine?
It's called Cabeça de Touro. It's a cheap Portuguese wine, but excellent bang for your buck.
Hey, look, that cost a few thousand, man. Come on, man. Let's be real.
Yeah.
If you thought, man, come on, bro. Okay.
Neuf pap and yeah, whatever.
All right, look, man. So we're now on to number 8, man. So as you guys were talking, I had to make some changes. So I had a previous number 8. I had to take it out, and this was painful to take out. But I just had to do it. So my number 8 is Mario Kart 64. For me, this is the best racing game of all time. I don't care about Gran Turismo. I don't care about Need for Speed. I don't care about any of those games. This game completely took multiplaying to the next level. Now, before the internet really took off and so forth and everything, before multiplayer gaming took off, literally, this was one of the most fun games to play within your group. This was literally our family game. And like my sister, who's hardly a gamer at all and everything, it was me, my 2 brothers, and my sister, and we each had a character. Me and my sister fought over Yoshi. One of my brothers was Toad. My other brother was Warrior, and we played. The gameplay dynamics, the different courses, the music, how simple it was to really move about it, the gaming mechanics as well, and the tactics of red shell, green shell. When should I use the shells mix? I mean, it's made racing fun, and it's brought so much creativity to racing. That's why for me, hands down, Mario Kart 64 is for me, like its impact on the racing genre was huge, and that for me is my number 8, man.
I mean, I don't see anything against that. It's all the Mario. The only problem is like with that choice that I have is like making a picking as your top 10 one of these games that are iterative, where each year there's a different one, and they're all basically the same template, and they've never really changed all that drastically. I can't bring myself to make to choose one of those games as part of my top 10. You know what I mean? Because what is you may like Super Mario 64 more than the rest, but is it really a much better game than Super Mario Kart? Whichever.
But see, but my thing about Mario Kart is 100%. All the iterations of the game are pretty much the same thing. But my thing is that Mario Kart 64 specifically, I think, was the game that really made the biggest impact. Because Mario Kart Wii is amazing. The Mario Kart on the SNES was bloody good. But I just felt that Mario Kart 64, I just think that at the time it was released, how well it did. And I think it had the greatest impact than any other Mario Kart game of its franchise. And I still think, taking everything into account from when it was released, it is still the best Mario Kart games for me. That's why.
No, but you know what I mean? There's people like shouting in the chat like FIFA 04, man. Like
no.
That's like the top 10, you know. But and the Mario Kart is not, it's not the same comparison, but yeah, I think you get my meaning. So my top 8, we're at number 8, right?
Yeah, number 8.
Is Indiana Jones and the Fate of Atlantis, which is maybe a lot of you haven't played it. I know I'm a little bit older than most of you kids, but it's part of the adventure genre, which is a genre that's sort of fallen by the wayside because of the internet age. But back when you can just look up answers on the internet on a whim, adventure games were the shit because there was no way for you unless you bought a magazine that was specialized in giving you the
Oh my
answer
gosh, those
Those
were
were the
yeah.
days.
to the secret. So that was a legitimate genre for like a good 5 years, where a lot of the best games around were of that genre. And I felt that I had to pay homage to this now largely defunct genre. And I think the best, it was between this, Indiana Jones and the Fate of Atlantis, which is a LucasArts game, and the Sierra game called King's Quest 6. And that was a tremendous game, but the problem is I never finished it, so I can't. It's probably a superior game, but because I never finished it, I couldn't bring myself to choose it. But yeah, this is. I'm talking about Monkey Island. You've heard about this. Secret.
Oh yeah, it's Escape from Monkey Island. Yeah.
All these games, fantastic games. The LucasArts was competing directly with Sierra, and they had like a little bit of a different philosophy with their game design. Sierra would allow the player to die, whereas with LucasArts it was impossible. It was just you got stuck in a puzzle, but you were never going to die. With Sierra, you could actually die. So save states came into it, were part of the strategy, and it was a different philosophy. But yeah, Indiana Jones and the Fate of Atlantis, for me, the real sequel to The Last Crusade.
Okay. No, that's what I say. Yeah. I sort of missed that. Like I never even heard of that. Even though that in the Dungeons guy, I don't know why I didn't, but I never heard of that game.
It's like leaps and bounds more better written than the Crusade, the tragedy that was the.
Bro, the title's called is flipping garbage. Like I don't even like that thing is flipping brick garbage. It's horrible.
One of the worst movies I've ever seen.
Yeah,
Like
for sure.
I should have actually walked up. It's one of the few movies where I should follow my instinct to get up and leave as soon as they nuke the fridge.
No. I mean, but sometimes it's good just watching a train wreck though. So
Yeah.
All right. So Man behind the Machine.
All right.
My number 8.
Okay, so my number 8, it's probably gonna be one of the ones that I can't really classify as a one game. Is basically the whole series. I think in the Dark Souls series, man. The Dark Souls series. But I played personally Bloodborne. But what I'm telling you is that Dark Souls legit, like when I heard about Dark Souls as this being like this really challenging game where it doesn't have any difficulty and you can die really easily in the game, I didn't believe him. I looked at gameplays and everything. I was like, oh, this looks easy, right? But then when I played it myself, I only played Bloodborne, just to be clear. And I played a little bit of Dark Souls 1, but I never finished it because it was at my friend's house. But from what I can tell you is this game, it challenges you mentally and like physically sometimes, because this game has so many like rage moments in the game. Like you will be fighting the same AI sometimes over and over again, and then you will die and then you will lose every point that you got. And then you have to go back and do it all over again. And then you either have the patience to do it again or you don't. And this game, it challenges you whether to time quickly, whether to attack properly at the right moments. And what this series brought in terms of the gaming community, it really brought the sense of like, I mean, we even have now Sekiro, Shadows of Time. We bring these like challenging games for players to play. It's not like, you can choose your own difficulties. Like, this is how it is. And then if you're up for a challenge, if you think you can beat this game, you can go for it. And this game has honestly brought a gaming, one of the most gaming masterpieces of all.
So are you saying the Dark Souls franchise or a particular Dark Souls game?
It's part of the. I was putting Bloodborne as part of the like the Dark Souls umbrella, but yeah, it is a sequel to Dark Souls, isn't it?
It's kind of,
Is
yeah.
it the same universe?
It's the same universe, kind of. And then you know what? I forgot to add. The lore in the game, they don't tell you about the lore. You have to search it up yourself. So
I have friends of mine that I respect their opinion pretty highly, and one in particular that rates Bloodborne super highly and says how the lore is really rich, actually, but you have to go exactly what you just said. You have to like seek it out,
find it.
But the difficulty level with these games, from what I've understood, is sort of an artificial difficulty. You know, it's not.
Yeah.
It's not. It's like a. It's about memorize. You know, it's like the game cheats to screw with you.
It's like a war of attrition.
Yeah. No, you turn a corner. You know, like blind spot, like blind jumps when they used to have that back in the day in the platformers, where there was no way of you knowing whether you're going to make the jump or not, but you had to make it. You had to try. You got to die once and then figure out how to like make the jump.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. That's the beauty.
The design philosophy of these games seems they took that and turned it into a design philosophy. So this is like an artificial form of difficulty for me. A true difficulty, if you want a challenging game, pick up an NES and play any game there. Pick up, try your
Mega Drive, man.
Try your hand at Ninja Gaiden. Try your
Strider.
hand
Play Strider.
Super Ghouls and Ghosts, Kid Chameleon. Any of those games will kick your ass like 10,000 times harder than any. Bloodborne, you go to a walkthrough on the internet, and if you watch it, you're like, oh, I'm straight. All right, so this is what I have to do.
Oh wait.
It's like with an NES game.
So let's roll. Let's keep this rolling. So I believe we're now on number 7.
Yes.
So number 7. This is where it's getting really tough now. So my number 7 is GTA 3. GTA 3 is my number 7. Now, people will say that it's maybe too low or so forth, but you will see the other games that I bring in. And for me, GTA 3 was a game changer. Probably had one of the biggest impacts on the industry ever. Like, I remember clearly watching a dude playing GTA 2 on the PC, and I said, bro, if they make this game 3D, this would be the greatest game of all time. And GTA 3 came, and it was arguably at the time the greatest game. At the time, I said this was the greatest game of all time. Through the sandbox thing up in the air, truly was about you have the freedom to do whatever the hell you want to do. And there was just no game like it. Like, because again, GTA 2 was cool, but GTA 3 was like, nah, this is GTA 2 to the nth degree.
Yeah, but GTA 2 is not even in the same galaxy as GTA 3. You know, totally.
But basically, the fireball was there. The thought was just that it was very limited because it was just top down and was very PC. But GTA 3 is like, oh, this is now real. This is what this feels that really take that out to an actual 3D living, breathing city that has its own aesthetics and so forth. So for me, GTA 3, outstanding game. I'll say outstanding game.
Yeah, dude, it's funny that you picked the GTA 3 at number 7, because my number 7 is also an open world sandbox a Rockstar game, and I racked my brains about which one I should choose, and I thought that the best game in the GTA series is San Andreas.
Thank you.
But hold on. But the high watermark in the genre is Red Dead Redemption.
Okay, all right.
So I chose Red Dead Redemption for number 7.
Also, Red Dead Redemption is your number 7.
It's number 7 because I think it's a superior. I think it's the high. It's everything that they were trying to do and that they built up toward with the GTA series. It culminated in Red Dead Redemption. and I just think it's a tremendous achievement, and it's got it's funny because GTA 3, the protagonist is sort of a blank slate, and everybody
Yeah.
projects onto this protagonist.
Yeah.
With Red Dead Redemption, it's a little different. You sort of play, well, you play it as you want it, as you want to play it, but the game gives you like a established lore for the character that you can sort of, your playstyle can accompany that, right? Where you're like you're a flawed cowboy that's essentially honorable, but he has a somewhat dark past that he's trying to get away from. The way I played it, I was a complete reprobate, and I was like, burning nuns. I was tying them against trees and stuff, and burning them and leaving people, hog tying people and leaving them in the train tracks and stuff, which gave an added layer to all the cinematics where you see like, ma'am, you don't want to be, messing with somebody of my caliber and everything.
Yeah.
It made it super funny. Like, yeah, you better believe it. But yeah, I just think it's a tremendous achievement that they actually created a world where you feel like you're living in the Old West, man.
Oh no, yeah.
And I never found like the whole Western genre that captivating.
I love the Western genre. That's why I love the game so much. I love the Western genre.
Oh, you do love it, okay.
Yeah.
But the movies and everything, I never understood it, and I finally understood the appeal of the Old West,
Honestly,
the Wild West, with this game. So that's in itself is
to go with Michael, like even I played Red Dead Redemption, and then when I wanted to look at the world of like spaghetti western movies and like even like True Grit, right? I got inspired by Red Dead Redemption, and then I looked into these movies. I was like, why is this a hype about it? And I was like, this is why, because people love these kind of adventures and like outlaws and stuff like that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I don't think Red Dead Redemption 2 was.
Wait, easy. Don't say anything. I'm still playing it.
All right.
I'm still playing. So please, shh. No spoilers.
I already played it, but I won't say anything.
Yep. Please, zip. Okay, so man behind the mind, what is your number 7?
I guess all of our number 7s is Rockstar games, aren't they? So like my Rockstar game is not from the GTA, not Red Dead Redemption, but to me, this one takes the cake. If you played this before, Max Payne. I literally had to add this in last minute. Why?
Good game.
You want crime. Sorry, go ahead. Go ahead.
No.
The thing is, Max Payne, from the minute you start the game, you realize you're gonna get into some dark shit. Like, I'm sorry to be cussing, but this is how like it is. The minute you get into the game, the minute the theme starts, the piano, and then boom, you're like, okay, what are you gonna get into? And then you get into the game, and I won't spoil anything, but the game story is nuts. You'll be dealing with a bunch of different people, like different crimes and everything. And honestly, the story is amazing. So how a man basically lost everything to now wanting to take back vengeance and then see who even did the crime in the first place. But I just love the atmosphere of the game. Like when you get into it, you look like you're going into like a horror game, but it's not even a horror game. It's a shooting crime game, right?
It's a hard boiled.
No. Basically, they really made it like a film.
They really did.
Yeah, it's very cinematic, and they even incorporated that whole bullet time thing from the Matrix.
Dude, that was crazy.
Into the game, which was great as well. Yeah, it's a game that's very it's excellent, and I actually hadn't listed, but it probably should be there. So not in the top 10, but somewhere in the top 100.
It's not, but basically, it's like basically for me. I think your Max Payne is like my Wind Waker. It's like one of those like kind of like hidden gems where like people would normally put in there, but everyone knew what that Max. Look, if Hollywood is actually going to go out there and put millions to make a film of a game, that game must have done something. So even if the film was complete utter trash, the game must have done something for Hollywood to be like, oh, we're actually going to put millions because this game had that special stylistic thing about it. So, okay,
yeah,
look,
definitely.
Bro, we're now on number 6.
Shit,
This is getting tough, man. This is getting tough. It's getting tough, man.
we're on uncharted territories here.
So my number 6 is Skyrim.
Ooh, okay.
Skyrim is my number 6, and I've always had this firmly in my number 5. But based on the picks I had, I was like, I just couldn't put it in number 5. For me, like my dream game, which is why you'd be surprised why this game isn't higher. My dream game is give me a sword, give me a shield, and give me the freedom just to move around. That has always been my dream game. Hence why I had so much hope for Fable, but it ended up just being garbage. Like from the graphics, the customization of your character, the gameplay mechanics, the freedom of movement, how good the leveling up is, how different you can make your character and so forth, the different kinds of storylines you can have, how you can basically, because sometimes I would just walk from like one end of the map to another, and the kinds of things you will see, the battles with the dragons. I don't think any other game has done dragon battles or depicted dragons as good as Skyrim has. Also, amazing soundtrack, absolutely superb, amazing soundtrack. So, basically for me, Skyrim, because again, I played sort of Elder Scrolls, Morrowind, and everything, which was iffy. So, but this was just a way better advancement on Morrowind, and yeah, like look. My guy is still one of my favorite characters. Like that's a guy that I created, bald head, scar across his face, rigid looking. Because I had like an ebony sword, ebony armor, ebony shield, and my guy was popping off, man. So yeah, for me, yeah, Skyrim gets my number 6 pick, man.
Okay.
So you know how I ripped on the man behind the mind, how I ripped on his choices.
Machine, don't do it. Don't do it.
Oh, yeah, okay, I can take it. I can take it.
Machine, don't do it.
Triggers me even more, man, because I find this is as if like I asked you for your top 3 footballers and you rated Messi number 1.
Oh God.
It triggers me even more than that because
Machine, you're really disrespecting Skyrim?
I'm gonna disrespect it so hard, man. You can't believe it.
The thing is, I have never played Skyrim.
Every single game that Bethesda has made, in my appreciation, is utter garbage. It's garbage tier, all of it. Morrowind is actually like one of the worst games I've ever played in my life.
No. Morrowind is trash. I get that. Morrowind is trash.
Oh yeah.
Skyrim.
No, sorry. No, I'm talking about Oblivion, the one for the Xbox 360.
Oh, okay. Oh yeah.
The controls were a disaster. I've never seen anything as buggy as that game. And then Fallout 3 is a travesty. It's a travesty because it took a beloved franchise that features 2 of the best games of all time, utter masterpieces, especially the first one, and shat on them, made basically Oblivion with guns, which is exactly what it was. And they've been making the same game over and over again with a different skin on top, and they're always bug-ridden. They're always terribly written. They always have 3 voice actors for 5,000 NPCs. They always have recycled art assets. They always have good music. That's the only thing that I can say about their games. But I have a pet peeve against Bethesda, man. I think they're the most tragic developer of all time. The love that they get is completely, for me, completely goes way over my head and is unjustifiable. And no, having said this, I never played Skyrim.
I never played Skyrim either. That's the thing. It's been on my list.
Dude, but I'm sure that it's the exact same game as every other Bethesda game I've laid my hands on, which is it's a carbon copy. And I've read reviews of people that I trust, and it's basically the same game as they've done as Oblivion. Don't tell me what's so different about Skyrim than Oblivion.
But after all that,
are the controls right? Is the writing?
Machine, you know what the funny thing is? I don't know which reviewers that you read and everything. I've played Morrowind. I've played Oblivion. I didn't even bother finishing those games because those games were straight garbage. Like Morrowind and Oblivion was straight. So I don't know what they were smoking when they made Oblivion. So when they made Skyrim.
You're telling me, all right, so you're telling me that a garbage tier developer all of a sudden finds inspiration from the gods?
Bro, I have no idea.
Masterwork.
I've even tried playing Fallout. I was like, I don't know what they did. Skyrim just seemed to work. Skyrim just seemed to work.
I'm gonna take your word for it.
It's been on my list. It's been on my list.
That was a plot twist, wasn't it?
Okay, so what's your number 7 then?
Wait, who, me or him?
Oh, my number 7.
Okay, my machine. I
completely blanked out. Oh, sorry. It's Eternal Darkness, which is another game that people are going to think I'm being a hipster for choosing.
Wait, was that on GameCube?
On GameCube, which is the most underrated, underappreciated console of all time. For me, the best of its generation. Even though it had a fairly limited library of games in comparison with the PS3 and no, it was the PS2, right? PS2, yeah, with the PS2 and the Xbox. But the games that it did have were amazing, including Resident Evil 4, this game, Eternal Darkness, all exclusives, by the way. Wind Waker, which was an exclusive back then. How did you play it, man? You played GameCube, didn't you?
Me, I played it before. I never owned it.
You rank Wind Waker as one of your top games, so you must have had the GameCube.
Who, me or
H8? Are you muted, man?
No.
Hello.
Oh no, yeah. I mean, no, yeah. So sorry. I never know because I thought you were asking.
No, I'm asking you. Man.
Is the only console that we never sort of owned.
So how did you become enamored with Wind Waker?
The Wii. So basically, my friend's brother basically owned all the consoles, and my friend's brother loved the GameCube, and that's why my friend and my brother, they talked about how amazing Eternal Darkness was, about how like the stories and the characters. So he lent me because I wanted to play Wind Waker, and you can play GameCube games on the Wii. So I actually had the Wii, so I played this on the Wii.
And did you play Eternal Darkness as well, or you don't know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I mean, it's just because I really wanted to play Zelda, I didn't play Eternal Darkness, but they swore by it that Eternal Darkness was like an amazing game.
It's for me, it's the GOAT survival horror video game. It's incredibly crafty and ingenious in terms of its design, because it had these things called it had this game component called the insanity meter, right?
Oh.
Where once you reached a certain, once you filled out the meter, all these weird effects that broke the fourth wall started happening. Like all of a sudden you were playing and your TV's volume started going down, and you thought for like a second, like, oh shit, who's doing that?
Oh, damn.
But then you realize, oh shit, it's the game. or the TV would turn off and shit, and all sorts of things like that. But that almost seems gimmicky. But it was so ingeniously done that it actually enhanced your experience, and or sometimes you'd lose control of your character, and you're like, oh shit, I'm not doing this. What's happening? It's because
that's crazy. No, they told me crazy stories, man. They told me crazy stories.
A certain level, and it was amazingly written, a really amazing story that took you through different eras of history. You got to play as a Roman centurion. The game opens as you playing this Roman centurion that then turns into this weird zombie thing, and then you go into the Dark Ages, where you play like this French the monk, and you just go through all these different epochs, and it's got this epic story that ties everything together. Very Lovecraftian, H.P. Lovecraft, if you know anything about him.
Oh yeah, I do.
Yeah.
And you're sort of you can choose these different factions, these gods that are obviously inspired in Lovecraftian mythos, Zelutoth and Ulioth, and they all have different characteristics. It's the Resident Evil game par excellence without it being an actual Resident Evil game. But for me, it was between Resident Evil 4 and this actually stood out.
Some
Quite
people will be pissed. Some Resident Evil people will be pissed that you stole that you took this, man, over Resident Evil.
It's a better game.
Actually, my number 6 was Resident Evil 4, and I like to back it up, man. But like, I never played Eternal Darkness. I have never played it, but I now that you describe it, I really want to play it to see how it is. But
Yeah, no, it seems interesting. No, look, my friend kept on talking about how crazy some of the scenes and the things that they're doing. So I think it's one of those guys like, yeah, like, if I have time, I want to ride with it.
yeah.
All right, money by the mind, you're number 7.
Actually, I have a quick question. Aren't we on number 6 instead of 7?
That's a good. Actually, wait a minute.
Because I remember.
Wait, so say 10, 9, 8. You're right. Number 6. Number 6. Yeah, you're right.
No, I just wanted to make sure we don't add.
Yeah, you're right. You're number 6.
Top 11. So, let's see. So, like I said, my number 6 was Resident Evil 4, and why I like that game. The thing is, I choose my games based on the games I played. I don't just like choose them because I didn't play them and then make an opinion out of them. So basically, when you play Resident Evil 4, you're actually let me say something. So Capcom was already known for its Resident Evil series, of course, but then back then, you had your like fixed camera kind of like style of horror game. And you wouldn't be fully immersive into the game. But then when Resident Evil 4 came out, it brought the over-shoulder camera technique and it changed everything. And plus the graphics on the game was crazy at the time. And at the time it was. So, and the thing is that you instantly fall into the game, and I never knew anything about the Resident Evil series when I played it. But when I started playing it, I realized that this game is going to become like a really this is going to become like a little bit of scary horror game. But honestly, during some times when you go through the game, it won't become scary anymore to you. It will just become like, just like you got to shoot these guys before they kill you, of course. But honestly, what the game brought in terms of like the character, like it brought Leon as Kennedy, and then everyone loved him after that. And the story was great. And they tried to do this again with like Resident Evil 5 and Resident Evil 6. It didn't have like the same magic as Resident Evil 4 did. And I honestly have to say for a fact that it's one of the greatest, not the greatest, but it's one of the greatest Resident Evil games in the franchise. One of the greatest.
Okay. I mean, do you know the funny thing about Resident Evil is this? I think this was Resident Evil 1. The moment the dog jumps through the window, I just drop the pad and I just pressed the off button.
Oh, really?
I don't mess with horror games, bro. I don't mess with horror games.
You mentioned well, speaking of the Resident Evil series, it's not just 4 that was exclusive for the GameCube initially. They also had these remakes of the original Resident Evils that were amazing. They had a remake of Resident Evil 1, and then they did this thing called Resident Evil 0, which is like a prequel, and they were both really good. But I digress. On to 5, right?
Yeah.
Number 5. Guys, all right, so this is where it's getting real. This is where it's getting real. And now this is one game that I don't think anybody would have played. But this is a game that I believe has probably two of the best characters in any video game I've ever seen. And this game has, without a doubt, in my view, the best storyline in any video game in history. So my number 5 is The Legacy of Kain Soul River 2. Now, this might be a game that not many people would have played, but every single time I meet people who are, let's say, gamers and sent, I say, find a PlayStation, PS2, whatsoever, and play Soul River, and then play Soul River 2. The characters of Kain and Raziel, for me, are the most complex, interesting characters in any video game, hands down. from how they are drawn, the art design, the storyline behind them is crazy. The best intro to a game is the Soul River 1 intro, which sets the stage to Soul River 2. So the story was written by Amy Hennig, and Amy Hennig obviously works for Naughty Dog, and she's obviously behind the Uncharted series and so forth. And I think she may have done some work on Last of Us and so forth. So she's like a Naughty Dog head honcho. The story is incredible. Like, it's when you go through the stories, like, this isn't what you expect from a video game. It's complex. It's interesting. The twist in Soul River 2 will shock the living daylights out of you. Like, just to get through the twist that happens to you in Soul River 2, you'll be like, oh my God. So yeah, for me, like, just based on just what they achieved on a storytelling level, was just simply out of this world. So yeah, for me, Legacy of Kain, Soul River 2.
When just to go off on something, I actually played Soul Reaver 2, but I was a kid when I played it back in the day, so I don't remember much of it. But when I played it, it was really good. I mean, I didn't understand much because I didn't learn English back in the day. But from when I played it and from what I was doing, the action scenes and everything, I gotta give it to you, man. Yeah, it's one of the underrated games.
Oh, no, but see, the key thing is that play it again, because the reason why I'm putting this on this list isn't because of the gameplay. The gameplay is pretty good, but I am putting this specifically because of the storytelling. It is the best written story in any video game that there's ever been. So play it now with a more mature intellectual mind, and then you now absorb just how amazing the storytelling is. But specifically, Soul River 1, just to give you background, then Soul River 2, incredible story.
Definitely.
All right. So Machine.
Are we ready, man? You ready?
Number 5, man. Number 5.
I'm going to hit you with it.
Uh-oh.
It's none other than Dragon Age Origins.
Dragon Age Origins?
What? You never played it? You never heard of this game?
Yeah.
BioWare.
Those losers who sold me out with that Mass Effect 3. But yeah, BioWare. I remember those dudes.
No, Mass Effect. I'm going to be real. I don't rate the Mass Effect series. I think they're promises, the unfulfilled potential. You know, Mass Effect 1 was riddled with issues. It was, for me, it was the beginning of EA-ware. You know, when Electronic Arts took over BioWare, and you really could feel like its corroding influence. That's the Mass Effect franchise for me, because they did every choice that they. Well, but let's go back to Dragon Age Origins.
Yeah. Give me Dragon Age Origins. So why is Dragon Age on this list?
Big BioWare masterwork, because the one thing that BioWare is known for and excelled at was storytelling and building worlds and creating top tier RPGs, and Dragon Age ticked all the boxes, man. For me, it's the high fantasy RPG setting that it's the best video game of that genre. Amazing storytelling, which is key to a good RPG. Fantastic game mechanics, difficult even in the normal settings, but really, really challenging if you go up a tier. High replayability, as all these games should have, because if you craft a character in a certain way and you play that character in a certain way, and this is key to the RPGs, and this is what annoys me so much about Bethesda games. One of the many things is that the world doesn't really respond to your character choices. You know what I mean? You make
no. That's key in these kinds of games. You have to see a reaction to your action.
Yeah, everything's you can walk into a bar and like kill half the town, and everybody's like hello, responding. That's just poor game design, especially when you're trying to create a role-playing game where the whole key to the experience is for you to immerse yourself into this fantasy world. It's escapism, and Bethesda is utterly incapable of doing so. BioWare hit all the notes with Dragon Age. The more you play,
So was this only on the PC or was this on console as well?
it was on console, but never play RPGs on the console, man. Never play. It's almost like an FPS. Have to play it on the PC. And dude, I'll give it to you. Go play it now. You're gonna think it's amazing. Really. Really.
Okay.
It looks super generic. You're like, as you're playing in the beginning, you're like, oh, I've seen all this before, all the tropes. But then you realize that they subvert all the high fantasy tropes that you're used to, with just little things initially, but then you realize how extensive that whole subversion goes, but in a really clever way. And they incorporate a lot of psychoanalytical elements into the lore. It's tough to explain. Like we could do like a separate video, just me waxing lyrical about this game and how effective it is in its story.
Oh, no. I mean, like, again, like my friend sort of was really into Dragon Age, but just I've never been a PC gamer. So even if a PC game is great, like, it's for me, when I think of gaming, I need that controller and the console. So even if it's an amazing game, the fact of just I've now got to play this amazing game on a PC, I'm like, okay, I now have to really go out of my way to, because when I just think of PC game, I just think StarCraft, Red Alert, Warcraft, and that stuff. But look, man, I mean, I think because I love RPGs so much, and because I love the whole choice thing.
Do you have any?
And because I've sort of heard everyone talking about how amazing Dragon Age is. Yeah. I mean, I'll give it a shot, man. So, man behind the mind, what is your number 5?
Okay, HH, I know you're gonna hate me for this. I know you will, probably. I don't know. So, come back. I need you. Anyway, so my number 5, in terms of the greatest game of all time, at least when I played it, and how I grew up with it. This game, I think, needs to be recognized. Grand Theft Auto San Andreas. I think that game, in my mind, okay, I have played Vice City. I have played Grand Theft Auto 3. But when it comes to Grand Theft Auto San Andreas, I have not played any other Grand Theft Auto game as like that. At least those two when they came out. The thing is that when I played it, I love the atmosphere and the storyline of the game. Like during the time where I think back in the day when you had the gangsters and when rap was really big nowadays, Grand Theft Auto San Andreas came out, and then you be playing like you're like legit in a gang, and how the storyline branches out, how different types of missions, and it's like a sandbox game. Like you get to do anything you want in the game as well, and how I really like the game because I even played it recently again on my PS4, and honestly, it's not even it's timeless. Like, and including the music in the game, when they put in the music in the game, what music they put, it's like crazy. You feel like you're in the game. You're feeling like you're the character CJ, and I really like the fact that you get to play as a gangster.
Okay. So why specifically do you think? Because again, I never played San Andreas, so
go play it immediately, man. It's the best.
Yeah, go.
Yeah, look, I'll get there. But so why do you think specifically San Andreas is the best GTA game, and why do you think it is so revered?
Okay,
it's actually not even that revered. It's sort of like under the radar. I feel that like people have a lot of rose-tinted glasses when it comes to Vice City, but really Vice City was more of an expansion than a proper sequel. It was the Miami expansion to GTA 3. Like San Andreas is a proper full-blown like completely different approach to the game. Well, it's not a completely different. It's like it's the next level, man. It's like the next. It's almost it incorporates more RPG elements than the previous games.
Yeah.
For instance, you can go. You can take your guy. You can start working out, right?
Yeah.
Out and you get jacked the more you work out, and if you start eating like a shitload, then you're left with this fat dude, and it has all these like, all this the things that Peter Molyneux promises and never delivered.
Oh yeah, all those things that he promised and he never delivered on Fable.
San Andreas delivers every single one of them.
That is.
It's the best. The reason why I didn't pick San Andreas is as my open world sandbox game, and I picked Red Dead Redemption, is I feel like the setting of Red Dead Redemption is more unique. It had more of an impact. Whereas San Andreas, you'd already seen the whole GTA model several times before, so it didn't have quite the same impact for me. But it's probably a superior game. It's Rockstar at its pump, really.
Yeah, definitely with the storyline, the characters. Like people still reference it to this day, even though they have GTA 5 now. People will still say like San Andreas is probably one of the best in the series. People say it, but it's another.
Those who know.
Hmm?
Those who know.
Yeah, you're right.
Man, guys, bro, these lists are crazy. I'm even thinking of making more changes, but it is what it is.
I think my number one will shock you. My number one will shock you, but go ahead.
Guys, I would actually like you guys just to put out your own list out there, because, guys, I don't think you understand how tough this is, how difficult this is, but we will try and do our best. So my number 4. My number 4, yeah, I think we're cool. My number 4 is Halo.
Wow. Okay.
Halo Combat Evolved. Machine, don't you dare pull that face, bro. Don't you dare pull that. Just keep looking at your damn phone. Don't you pull that face. Halo Combat Evolved. Now, some people would have thought that I would have put it high and everything, but Halo Combat Evolved is, for me, the greatest FPS of all time. This made the FPS make sense. The gameplay, the controls, the world, the graphics of Halo 1 were groundbreaking. Because remember, this game came out in 2001. And even if you had to play the game now, the graphics don't look dated because they were so cutting edge at the time that it was amazing. Let me land. So, and for me, what was also amazing about Halo is the enemies. When you look at whether it's a Gears of War or any of those other games, the enemies are just these faceless beings. But what made Halo unique was like the Covenant actually had personalities. Like each one of them, whether it's the elites, it's the grunts, and so forth, they were all extremely well designed, well detailed. So you really felt you were actually fighting another kind of army. So it just added to the realism of the whole thing. So just because, again, I think, and also Halo just obviously sets the stage for, of course, the multiplayer, which is the greatest multiplayer of all time. But for what Halo, two things: for what it did for the FPS genre and what it did for Xbox. No Halo, there's no Xbox. Simple as that. Because none of it. So there's never been a game which literally made a console survive. Remember, this Xbox was going up against PS2. So for a singular gaming franchise to save an entire console just speaks volumes of how Halo was, because Halo was the first ever system seller where people bought. So yeah, I was not going to get an Xbox. That thing looked like a literal brick. I was like, what the hell am I getting an Xbox, man? Let me keep my sexy PS2. But because everyone went on about this Halo, people literally bought their Xbox console to play Halo. So it was the first ever system seller out there. And bro, you cannot deny its power of Halo Combat Evolved. So that's my number 4.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think the greatest contribution of Halo is to bring the FPS genre to the bro crowd. Where all of a sudden, dudes that were like, yo, I like to double bag my junk, bro. We're playing Halo and shit. But I will say this. It is revolutionary in terms of console FPSs, but you should never confuse FPS in the consoles with the PC. As I said, whatever Halo was doing for the consoles was 5 years behind what PC was doing at its time of release.
mean, if you look at it, PC is always top tier because it's always top tier over console.
Yeah, so which why I found that originally PS would always be the best graphics, although all the time.
Especially when it comes to FPS, is because you have a range of movement with your mouse and your keyboard that you simply don't have with a controller. Controller is made for racing games and sport games, football games, and stuff like this. It's not made for an FPS. Now, within those limitations, Halo is a tremendous achievement. I know that it was done by Bungie. They're very careful about crafting a high quality product. I know that they take a lot of time to produce amazing storylines.
Yeah,
They have done so. Prior to Halo, they used to have this FPS game strictly for the Mac, actually, which I played, called Marathon, and that had a very rich lore to it as well. The only Halo that I have actually ever played was Halo 3 for the Xbox 360, and I thought that was very, very entertaining.
yeah.
It was cool. It was, but Halo had the best story. It was the best game.
Theme song.
Maybe, yeah.
Easy. No, man. Thank you for reminding me. Easy, machine. Easy. I don't care what anyone says. This is not up for debates. This isn't a thingy. I'm not going to go back and forth. The greatest video game soundtrack to any game in history, now, in the future, and for all time, is what Martin O'Donnell did with the Halo soundtrack. As the games went progressively worse, his soundtrack still remained amazing. And I think for me, thank you for reminding me, the soundtrack for me is what gives Halo, sets it apart from almost every other game, because the soundtrack is iconic. That theme is iconic. So superb. Yeah, thank you for that.
Actually, the soundtrack for Eternal Darkness, bringing it back to Eternal Darkness, is amazing. And you should check it out. Go download it. And what am I going to speak on my 4 or no?
Okay, so yeah, go for it. So it's your number 4 now.
So my 4, you're just gonna. I know your faces are gonna go like, yeah, whatever, blank stares and everything, because you don't know what it is. It's very like remote, the chance that you actually know this game. But it's called Lands of Lore, and it was a PC game. I know you're not a PC gamer, HH, but to me, it's the 3rd best RPG of all time. And RPG being my go-to genre of video games. I think it's the genre that allows for the most sort of breathing grounds. It just gives you, it allows for you to do a lot of things in terms of design. You know what I mean?
Wait, so is this an MMO or just straight RPG?
No, it's a straight RPG. Back in the day when Morrowind, you remember Morrowind? Before that, there was this game that inspired a lot of these style of RPGs called Ultima Underground, and the way that they worked was, you had this perspective, right, and you pressed the key to go forward, and it would go forward, and then you press the key to go left, and it would like it wasn't 3D, so it was like slides. It gave you the illusion of depth and of a 360 sort of range of movement. But it was just an illusion. But this had an amazing storyline done by Westwood Studios, who are the same guys that did Command and Conquer.
Oh yeah,
and also did these really nice adventure games called The Legend of Carandia, which are definitely in my top 100 as well. At least 2 of those games. And nothing, man. Look it up. I think.
Land of Lore.
Land of Lore, the first one. I think part of the reason for this video is also to instruct people on, for people to know different games and.
Honestly, yeah. I mean, it doesn't have to be like AAA games, of course. It could be.
No. It's basically. I think this is why I said I don't know how many people have played Soul Reaver, and I said, look, play it and you'll see. It may not be a game that you've heard of. Play Soul Reaver 2. How many people have even played Wind Waker? I don't think many people have played it, but play it. That game is money.
It's true, but I'm just going to say that back in the day when this released was absolutely AAA, but this was in 1996 or whatever. And I'll tell you why it's AAA is that it's one of the first games to incorporate voice acting into it. Voice acting was a totally novel thing, and not only did they included Patrick. What's his face? The guy that plays X-Men,
Stewart.
Patrick Stewart. Yeah, Professor X and the Star Trek guy. And he featured in the voice work, which was a new thing back in the day.
Nice.
So like proper legit celebrities to do like voice work for video games. That was not a common practice. That was so they sort of broke the mold with that.
And wait, why? What year was this released?
I think 94 or somewhere around.
Okay, wow, all right.
That was good.
So, man behind the mind, you're number 4.
Okay, my number 4. Actually, when the machine was talking about games of like we don't really know about, I was about to include another game, but I don't think it's gonna be able to be top 4. But this one in particular, we gotta give credit where credit is due for this game, man. We gotta give credit where credit is due. Minecraft. We gotta give credit to Minecraft. We know some people we hate it, but then honestly, like Minecraft in a gaming world, this game brought a storm. And I'm not talking about it's a big giant sandbox game. You can do anything you want in it. We get the gist of it. But how it impacted the gaming community was crazy. People were going on YouTube looking up Minecraft tutorials or Let's Plays. And this thing still today is still one of the biggest games to ever be streamed, to ever be played live, or even talk about. When you have games like Fortnite now that is not even really top tier, but people still play it, or like PUBG in a land of battle royales, this game will always be standing up on top. Like there was a slow decline a little bit, but then after that it came straight back up, and you will see people just making crazy things in the game. Like even there's like mods and everything that makes it like really realistic, and that's crazy when you think about it. When you play a game of blocks, you don't think like it's gonna be this big. You think it's just like, oh, okay, this is a game for kids, but no, that's like you can just do anything you want in it. And like I have never played Minecraft, but from what I can tell you, from like a person that has been on YouTube for like,
you never played it, and it's one of your top 10, man.
but it's impactful. It's impactful on the community, dude.
That's my Skyrim takedown.
No, because I didn't really put any rules in there. But for me, I do feel that you should, even if you feel the game. For me, it's sort of like me saying Half-Life 2 or Warcraft. I've not played Half-Life 2, but I play based on its impacts. But I still think you should play the game.
Yeah,
I think you should. No, but if you want to put that in there, that's still fine. But I still feel like you should play the game to bring it in the top 10. But I'm not gonna hate on it.
The thing is, I did play it, but I did not play like religiously. I don't have like on my console, but I have played it.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, no. Listen, Minecraft is one of those games that, like, as long as you've played it, that's fine. Because I don't think it's a game in which there is a definitive story. It's just about what the experiences of the actual game and what the game mechanics is about. Because yeah, I've played Minecraft as well. All right.
Yeah, definitely.
Number 3. Top 3 right now. Now this is now where it's getting big right now. So my 3rd greatest game of all time, and this is a tricky one. It's Pro Evolution Soccer. And that's not even putting in a particular game. It's literally the franchise, Pro Evolution Soccer. Now, the reason why I'm going to do this in here is like this. What Konami did was pretty much the impossible. Because before Pro Evo existed, there was only one king of the mountain, FIFA. FIFA had all the licenses. They had all the teams, and they were the only attraction in town. But what the Japanese company Konami did, they say, you know what? Cool. Let them have a license and everything. But we're going to actually make you experience what it truly feels like to play football. We're not going to create an arcade. We're going to create a simulation. And When Pro Evo came, it was unheard of that anybody would take the crown from FIFA. And Pro Evo completely and totally changed the dynamics with regards to what you could experience from a football game. And ever since then, FIFA hasn't made a game as realistic or as good or as authentic as any of the Pro Evo games. Pro Evo, they were able to, in the labs or whatever, crack the code of what should it really feel like to play a football game, a football match. Because I think when you look at the NBA games, NBA 2K, NBA Live, NHL games, the Madden games, I always felt jealous because like, wow, why can't my sports be as good as an NBA 2K game? Why can't it be as good as a Madden game? Because those Madden and NBA games are outstanding. Outstanding. Hey, Mini Machine, what up?
Mini Machine.
I want to, is it a he or a she?
A machinette, like a little lady,
Okay, little lady, I want you to give me your top three, okay? After we're done, Lynette, I want your top three. So don't act like you can't talk to Uncle HH. Uncle HH wants to know your top three, okay? Good, thank you. So that's why I said for Pro Evo is what it did for the genre and the football genre. I just thought was huge. So that's why Pro Evo Soccer is my number 3. Have at it.
The thing is, I'm a FIFA guy.
You're wrong.
I respect the opinion that you got for making it realistic. But in my opinion, the founder of, I mean, not the founder, but like the creator of the soccer games of all time has to go to FIFA because they have been there since the beginning. Because, I mean, you have to give it credit where credit is due. But yeah, PES, I have played it.
But see, all because you're the originator or creator doesn't mean that you did it the best. Yes, FIFA, I give them that credit. I give them isn't a credit you put on the top 10 list. So all because you did it first doesn't mean that you did it the best. This is all about who did it the best. Pro Evo may have come afterwards, but Pro Evo said, okay, we've seen what, it's almost like I've seen what my father did, but me, the son, I came through and I just did it better than what my father did. So they just perfected and made a football game properly.
Can I interject with my opinion on the matter? Is this? It's Pro Evolution is so far ahead of FIFA. It's not even it's one of those debates that to me are completely perplexing.
It's like black and white.
It's not even black and white. It's like it's hot and cold, and it's like gold and shit. That's the difference. FIFA's an arcade game that's sloppy. Even the character models are behind Pro Evo. Pro Evo is a proper football game. Controls like one. Incredibly deep in its gameplay. I would put it in my top 10 because I play it so much. But except for that rule that I sort of implemented, where I'm not going to choose any game that's iterative. In other words, games that are basic, that launch every year, and there's a new, blank 2018, blank 2019, blank. Because I think it's not fair to single one out. I'd probably pick like actually 2012 Pro Evo is the best of all time. But
see, the reason why I put Pro Evo is that I do get your points of like you can't speak a game where it's like so many different iterations. But my main thing is the aesthetic that the franchise brought is what I did. And I think when we're doing this list, I think impact is a really big thing. And I think Pro Evo's impact on what is the most watched and the greatest sport of all time was huge. So I think that because this guy said, sports games shouldn't be in the top 100. I'm sorry, we have to give credit to a video game company or developer being able to crack what was seen as the difficult code of making a football game.
Okay, this is just a question. What is everyone's favorite year of like Pro Evolution Soccer or FIFA?
I would say 2012, but that's sort of like the one where like everybody, all of my friends were playing at the same time, and it was very competitive. And I guess because of that, it stands out from the rest. But it's always who knows? I liked last year a lot, actually, more than this year. No, HH, you're playing this year, no?
Oh yeah. Oh no. I think I played this one last. Oh, look. So guys are now hating on me now. Let's say Mini Machine
God.
better than HH.
Right, yeah. Well, better than all of us.
Okay, so Machine, what's your number 3?
My number 3 is Fallout. The original, not this travesty of the Bethesda game, which I played. Having already the deep suspicion that it was going to be Oblivion with guns. But IGN and all these fraud enterprises promised me that it wasn't, and I let myself be blinded by the hype, really, because it was such they loved the franchise so much. And I played Fallout 3, and sure enough, it was Oblivion with guns, but worse even, because it trampled on everything that was good and beautiful of the Fallout franchise. I think Fallout 2 is an excellent game in its own right, but it's more of an expansion than a proper sequel. But Fallout 1, if you haven't played it, go play it immediately, because it's such a unique.
So is this on the PC or console?
It's on the PC, man. It's on the PC, and you're gonna have to find very specific. Like it was designed for a type of monitor that's no longer around. So there's all sorts of limitations. But if you were around back then, man, it's.
So did you play this Fallout New Vegas?
I didn't play it, but I know that it was developed by a different developer than Bethesda. In fact, it was done by the guys that did Pillars of Eternity, and they also did the South Park RPG game, which was.
Oh yeah.
But they also did a game that I hate, which is KOTOR 2, the sequel to Knights of the Old Republic. But whatever, I digress. Fallout 1 is unique because you can play it a million different ways, and the game is always completely different depending on how you craft your character. I'll give you an example, a very specific example. You can, you have a certain amount of points to allocate on your character as any RPG in the beginning. And you can detract from your baseline points. So imagine you decide to detract from your intelligence, right? And you just put everything on strength. It changes the game so existentially that you can no longer speak to people. Nobody understands you. All the PCs come up to you, and you're just like, and everybody's like, okay, listen, would you like some food, or or you can put all the points into intelligence, and you're like this super verbose, super eloquent, super.
They're basically super weak.
And and you can be super. Exactly, you're super weak, but you can talk your way out of a conflict. You know what I mean? If you make the right choices. I mean, that's what RPGs is all about, man. Sorry, she's getting a little. That's my choice.
I think she doesn't agree with your Fallout.
Yeah. So,
I'm kidding.
Your number 3.
Okay, so my number 3, it's a really new game, but I feel like it really changed gaming in general in terms of the graphics and story. And I have it right here. Red Dead Redemption 2, right there. The game that you're currently playing. Yes, I understand. Everyone likes the first one because it's new, it's different, like Michael said. Sorry, the machine. Why am I calling it Michael? So, but Red Dead Redemption 2 brought everything from like the first Redemption game to the second one, and brought it in so much better. They implemented like the camp system, how you interact with like your other members of the gang, to like the storyline, and then they brought the honor system back, right? Where like people will treat you differently if you're a bandit compared to being like a good saint, which honestly is all up to you, and that's the beauty of the game. Like you can choose to be a really bad outlaw or a really good guy, and the story plays out how you basically played the whole game. And I'm not going to give any spoilers or anything, but basically the end of the game will decide how you have played. And there's so many secrets and so many hidden things in the Red Dead Redemption 2 that is big, and not to mention the graphics on the game.
Is that I can comment on? The graphics are outstanding.
It is. Like I will tell you, you'll be probably maybe you have already, but if you'd be standing on top of a mountain and you'd be doing that in one mission, you will look out through the land of what is Red Dead Redemption. I'm telling you, man, that made my mouth drop. I'm like, how can you do this in a video game? Like, we were all like psyched when we found out water physics, right, in a video game. But this took that to a whole new level. Like, imagine the graphics we're gonna get in the future games, and graphics all the way. Action scenes is nice, especially, of course, the Dead Eye. And then honestly, Red Dead Redemption 2 earns a really, really high, like, top of the game list, because people need to play it. If they haven't, they need to, because it's really a great storyline. And like, I fell in love with the character Arthur.
So if you had to say one aspect of why Red Dead Redemption 2 is so good, what would it be? Is it the graphics, the gameplay, the storyline? Specifically, what's one thing if you had to choose one thing?
That's the thing. You can't really put a narrow to one, but if I'll do it. I'll say storyline. I'm more of a campaign guy. And when it comes to this game brings it. This game brings it. Like, you have everything from drama to it's nuts. I'm telling you. But like, yeah, you'll experience it once you go.
I'm right to this. So based on what everyone is saying, I think I'm just gonna short of everything and just take like a weekend, next few days, and just go deep into, because again, like, I'm playing it very slowly, and I with these kinds of games, I try and make sure that I do everything. I hate just doing the straight missions, so I'm doing like everything. But I think I'm going to slowly start chipping away at the missions a lot more so now and everything.
Yeah.
The thing about this game to me is it's too realistic. It's too realistic, and it's too slow. It's too ponderous.
Which is,
I don't think the whole premise of the game is built around Dutch Vanderlyn being an insane.
Don't say too much. Don't say too much story.
I haven't finished it like you, man. So I'm not going to spoil it that much. But
I'm telling you, man,
worships this guy Dutch, who's supposed to be so charismatic. He's not really. I don't see, like, the game just keeps informing you that this guy is amazingly suave and everything, but then it doesn't effectively communicate that. And then I thought the controls in Red Dead Redemption were much tighter. And controls, for me, is an existential aspect of a game. It's like gameplay. And its barest essence is how the game controls. And if it doesn't control well, then it's not a video game I'm prepared to delve too deeply into. I'll give you an example. The Witcher 3, which seems amazing otherwise, the controls are trash. So because they're trash, I'm not going to spend 600 hours in a game, no matter how well the story is written, no matter how deeply the characters are fleshed out, no matter how the other gameplay elements are designed. That's not something I'm prepared to do. And with Red Dead Redemption 2, I just feel the controls hamper it from being like, they detract from it too much, and it's not. I don't rate it as highly as the first.
The thing is, I understand where controls are coming from, because I'm a control guy as well. But like, at first, yeah, it's kind of like, it's kind of wonky because you're first getting into it, but then eventually you get adjusted to it. You're just like, oh, okay, now I see why I need to do this and that. And also, might I add, I love the horses in this game. So lifelike. It's
That's true.
I love
very realistic. Yeah,
I get sad whenever my horse dies for some reason. I'm just like, why you die on me, man? I needed you.
Right. Yeah.
Okay, guys, boom, we're almost there, man. Number
we go.
2, man. Just 2 more to go. Number 2, man. Number 2. All right. I was about to swap these. I was about to swap these, but I was like, you know what? I can't do it. Machine, I've got a bone to pick with you. Okay, Machine, let's fight now. Let's fight. So let's take the gloves off.
Let's do it.
I'll put my knuckles up right here. Let's. I've not been in a fight for about 5-6 years, but I'm ready to fight.
No, let's do it.
Mass Effect. Let me land. Now, this is what you have to understand about this. Okay, if you can make your character black, you already get an extra 5 points from me. So 100%. So this, I'm going to take it to the whole trajectory. So the first thing was, because this was before really insets were the big thing. So it was always like the magazines. So first of all, I was like, oh man, this game where you can make a guy black. Boom, I'm in. So as I was reading the preview, they said your actions and your choices will determine how the game ends, and and people will now react to you based on the choices that you give. So I said, okay, well, this is just a whole fable thing, and so forth. First things first is when you customize your character, you're like, okay, but this is cool, but it's similar to Skyrim and everything, pretty detailed and everything. The first time you see your character in Mass Effect, you're like, wow. When you see your character interacting with other characters and you see his facial emotions and so forth, it's like, all right, we're now entering into an area of video gaming that we've not really entered into. I don't care what anyone says, Half-Hope Shepard is one of the greatest heroes of all time. Okay. I will go into hellfire with Half-Hope Shepard. Like I have not had a closer connection to a character than I did with my character in Mass Effect. And I think it's the whole thing of how because I'm a huge sci-fi fan, how well they created the sci-fi aesthetic, of course, borrowing from Blade Runner and so forth, was absolutely incredible and outstanding. The relationships you can forge with your team and so forth, I just think it's simply amazing. And just how, whether you want to have a romance with this character, whether this character is close within you and so forth, and just the RPG elements are amazing. Now, I've got to explain this because Mass Effect 2 was on my list and I had to remove it. And the key thing is Mass Effect 2 is overall a better game. But for me, Mass Effect had the greater impact because Mass Effect 2 is just expanding upon the world that Mass Effect did. Mass Effect 2 just refined and just cleaned out the rough edges of Mass Effect. Because again, Mass Effect, there are a few gameplay issues, a few inconsistencies here, but the essence of what they were doing in regards to leveling up and advancing the RPG genre was huge. And there has still never really been a game quite as sexy or as stylish as a Mass Effect. And I just think that the whole thing of, wow, man, and my choices are really having so much of an effect on people. People are relating to me based off the flipping choices that I'm making. That is why for me.
That's what I'm going to do, man.
Okay, the thing here is, okay, look. Let's forget Mass Effect. Wait. Let's forget Mass Effect. Mass Effect 3 is, guys, we're going to do a part 2. You know the part we're going to do? We're going to do the 5 worst games of all time. And Mass Effect 3 is going to be on it. The key thing here is this.
But can I tell you something?
3 is got trash. What are you going to say? And what are you going to say? The whole point of Mass Effect was it was all leading up to part 3. The point was every choice you made in Mass Effect 1, Mass Effect 2 would determine the ending you had in Mass Effect 3. So this would be unlike anything we've ever seen where the ending I had in 3 was every choice I made in part 1, every choice I made in part 2, and every choice I made in part 3. So it will accumulate in 3 games. but 3 was gutter trash. But for me, I'm like, look, man,
But HH,
it doesn't mean that it takes anything away from what Mass Effect did.
if you were paying attention, all I needed to play was Mass Effect 2 to see that they were not going to live up to the promise that they'd laid out for the first game. I already had deep suspicions just from playing the first game, from how sloppy it was at every level. I know that you never played Dragon Age because it's such. What Mass Effect gives you is the illusion of choice. It's not actual choice, and what it does is it implemented, and this is unique in this regard. Mass Effect was. It was the first one to do so. They reduced the conversation system of an RPG, which typically had multiple, often 6 or 7 different choices for you to make, right? And these choices in the conversation system, what you said was very specific. You knew exactly what you were saying. With Mass Effect, they reduced it to a more bare-boned, 3-pronged conversation system where one answer was positive, the other one was neutral, and the other one was negative. The problem is that they try to truncate, make a summation of what you were saying into like a pithy little like one-liner. The problem is that those one-liners very often, when you picked them, had nothing to do with what the character actually said. That's the first thing. The second thing, even though they reduced and truncated this conversation system and made it much effectively easier for NPCs to respond to you because they don't have as many choices to respond to, so it's a lot less work from a design standpoint. What they did was like that. Your choice made no effect really. You could pick the positive choice and the neutral choice, and they would be the same. The NPC would react the same way. So it's extremely lazy in that regard. Then it had another problem, which was recycled art assets. If I'm going to immerse myself into a universe, it better be interesting visually. And Mass Effect, you would travel from planet to planet. And these planets would be just bunkers, and the same bunker over and over again, recycled. And then you had like Novaria. What the hell was Novaria, man? Novaria was like a bunker. So I'm trying to remember like the names of the planets. They're all sort of like melting away in my memory because they were so generic. The art direction was so generic in that game. Problems with textures. Loading, problems with loading screens posing as elevator rides. You'd get into these interminable elevator rides that would never end. I'm sure you remember that, HH, no?
Oh, no, yeah.
The Mako mini game where you drove around the car.
Yeah.
The controls were terrible, and that was like...
But the RPG was tight. The RPG was tight.
Yeah,
machine, your guy, you could create your own dude. You could create your own guy. Your guy was in there, man.
RPG.
No, wait. This is the perfect case of I was willing to forgive all the inconsistencies because the positives were so great. That's why it's crazy that it's in number 2, because I say, wait a minute, how can you put a game on number 2 that had so many engineering issues, but based on what they were doing? In terms of, because I know I've not played Dragon Age. I strongly doubt Dragon Age looks as sexy, as stylish, or as cool as a boy Mass Effect. Wait, Machine, does Dragon Age have Half-Up Shepard?
It has way cooler because like your character is actually you can actually.
Can you make him black? Can you make a character black?
Probably, I don't remember, but yeah, I think so.
Can you bang other girls?
I think you can, man. You can even there's this character named Alistair, right? Who's sort of fruity, and you can take him on as your lover. You can gayify him, basically. Yeah, you can just be some guy, but you can also like court him to fall in love with you, which is really cool. It's not the game doesn't like blare it out to you, but if you explore the correct choices, then all of a sudden you delve deep enough into this character that you get that out of him. You know what I mean? Dude, it's 10,000 times better. Dragon Age is 10,000 times better than Mass Effect. I have
Okay. All right. So wait.
Wait.
You got a super chat.
Yeah. Let me just do this. So from Daniel Jones Ortega, obviously from the Discord group and Football Hub member, great discussion. If you do it again, it gets me on. Guys, we will definitely be doing a part 2. We'll be definitely be doing a part 2 because maybe I want to even do maybe best sequels or best maybe best RPGs, best platforms and so forth. Maybe truncated to genres, even more so. All right, Machine, what is your Machine? Okay, yeah. After crapping on my Mass Effect, what's your number 2 then? What is your number 2?
Another RPG and a BioWare RPG, and not only a proper RPG, but arguably the greatest RPG ever made. It's between it and Fallout for me. But you know what it is? Knights of the Old Republic. What? Is he getting up, man? I know you never played it now. Now I know you never played it.
Damn.
HH, come back, man. I know you never played it. Dude, not only is it probably the greatest RPG ever made, but it's also the greatest Star Wars related material ever. You know, people are obsessed with the Star Wars movies. I always thought they were entertaining, but they never blew my mind. I never understood like the legions of fans and people camping out outside of theaters to watch freaking Phantom Menace and all these trash movies. The thing that really got me sold on the Star Wars IP and the world itself was the video games, more so than the movies. And by video games, I mean Dark Forces, the first game, and Dark Forces 2, Jedi Knight, which is arguably the best FPS ever made. And KOTOR. KOTOR is a better story than anything that Star Wars has ever done. Anything that Lucas has laid his hands on, KOTOR is 10,000 times better, man. It's deeper. They craft the world, and it's also the video games offer you a lot more. You know, like you can really immerse yourself into the universes with a properly crafted video game, whereas a movie is a finite thing where you get 180 minutes or however long, and that's it. But this really delves deep into Jedi lore, the dichotomy between Jedis and Sith, and it has arguably the greatest plot twist of all time. I don't want to spoil anything if you haven't played it, but it's got the greatest plot twist of all time. Do you know what I'm talking about?
No. Machine, let me say this right now. I remember, because people talked a lot about Knights of the Old Republic, so I remember when I rented it out. So, okay, I'm going to rent out, play the demo. And I was like, oh, this is cool. Graphics are awesome. Great atmosphere. Oh, this looks really, really good. I had a battle. And I tried to fight, okay, so surely I could fight, A, B,
And you got your ass kicked?
The controls didn't make any sense.
It's not, dude, please, man. It's turn-based, man. It's a turn-based RPG, bro.
Then tell me it's turn-based.
No, but you gotta, dude, go play it immediately now. Go play it now, man. Go play it now so you understand what a good RPG is. Because I promise you it's not Mass Effect, and I promise you it's not Skyrim. Go check out KOTOR. Go check out Dragon Age. Go check out, Fallout's a little dated at this point. But go check out these games, man. Even if the graphics are dated, they're mechanically and just intrinsically so much better. And you can and it affords you the opportunity to create a character that's so much richer and so more and lends you so much more agency. You know what I mean? Because the thing about these video games like Mass Effect and Skyrim to an even greater degree is that they give the player no agency. It doesn't matter what all these little different game systems mean zero. It doesn't matter if you jack up your charisma to the highest levels, the NPCs are still going to react to you largely in the same way. There are going to be these robotic things like, "Hello, sir. Welcome. Hi. Welcome to the Skyrim Tavern." It's the same voice actor that played 1,000 NPCs before, and these games actually offer, like, you feel like you're interacting with the proper characters. You feel like your character is unique in this world. You know what I mean? And that's what makes RPGs fun gameplay experiences. And they're not really making them with those anymore. They stopped making them with Knights of the Old Republic, in my appreciation. There's one called Divinity and something's Reach. Do you know what I'm talking about? Divinity Infinity's Reach, or whatever it is. And that seems like a proper RPG from what I've seen.
Oh, so I don't want just to relate something in here. Now, I only speak for myself. I don't always speak for Man Behind the Mind or Machine. I'm not a gamer. I just sort of dabble in some video games. Hence why RPG games are my main thing. I'm not one of those sweaty dudes in E3 who basically sleeps there gaming for 24/7. That's not me. Because I told you, I like films, I like football, and I like video games as well. I'm not a quote unquote gamer. Let's get in like that. So this is just a list based on the video games I've dabbled in. So if you're looking for full-on experts, go to what's it called, Angry or whatever. This is just just regular dudes who like playing video games, and this is our top 10. So
Honestly,
listen, I'm not judging you or anything. It's I just want because we all enjoy playing video games. I just want to give you my recommendations, so because I know that you're going to enjoy them.
Okay, yeah.
definitely, yeah.
HH with you have a critical mind, and you're a really smart guy. You're going to enjoy these games. That's why.
Oh, no. Trust me, because what I want to do is that afterwards we're going to pretty much. I want to probably in the comment section below, I'm going to just do a printout of everyone's list. So I'll put it in as a top comment, and I'll take everyone's list, and I'll basically put everyone's list so we can then sort of like. So if you've missed any ones, you will see it in the comments below. So I'll have everyone's list. So Man Behind the Mind, you're number 2.
Oh, here we go. Okay. I like how he left. I'm kidding. There's a lot of good games, man.
So build up to it. Give us a build up.
This game, no words needed. You have to play this. The Last of Us.
Okay, wait. Before you go through, I don't know what. Basically, I started it because my friend said, "Bro, you got to play this game," and I just said, I actually borrowed the game off one of my friends because to get it, and I think I had to do something. There was something I had to do that I played like the first 50 minutes and I had to go out and do something, but that is definitely on the list of games that I know that I have to play. I know I've got to play.
Yes. Honestly, this game it's nuts. I mean, you already played the first 15 minutes of it, and you already know what's happening in the first 15 minutes. When I don't know where, I'm not gonna spoil anything if anyone hasn't played it.
Yeah. Basically, don't spoil it in case you guys haven't played. Don't spoil anything.
Yeah, no worries. But in my mind, The Last of Us has brought something to the PS3 era when it first came out. Not when it first came out, like around there when the PS3 was out and people were debating about if they should get the console or not. This was one of the games that people were wanting to get the PS3 because of this game and another game which I will talk about probably later or maybe never. This game is crazy for the story, and the fact that survival horror in The Last of Us can also tell a great story like that. Great story, and makes you feel like so many emotions and gets you attached to the characters. It's nuts. And honestly, I get like still to this day, like if I play it again, and then you know what? It has a really great replay factor. Like even though I may have played it like 3 or 4.
Let me ask you, so specifically, why do you believe that Last of Us deserves to be number 2 on this list?
Because it really has a great storyline, man. Like I love the story, and I was so excited for the second one to come out that I really pre-ordered it the minute they announced it, and Well, we're not gonna get that anytime soon, but it's one of the best games I have ever played of all time. Like, it made me feel like everything.
Okay, so Machine, any thoughts on that?
I actually never played Last of Us, but
I need to play it.
Do it, man.
Dog, who are a developer that I respect, and nothing. I have nothing to say. It did seem a little quick timey. I'm not about quick time events, where you know what I mean about that. Like there's like these cutscenes where you have to press X or Y or
Yeah.
It's very Rock Bandy, and I don't like those gameplay elements. But it's they craft a good story. Naughty Dog do. And
no. I've heard a lot about how amazing this. Look, it's on my list because everybody has said that it's an amazing story. Everyone said it's an amazing story, so it's 100% on my list, man. It's 100% on my list.
I definitely recommend both of you playing it. It really has a survival horror aspect of it. Actually, if you play the hardest difficulty, I don't recommend the hardest difficulty to anyone, but I did, and basically,
you don't recommend it to anyone.
Oh, well, I don't recommend the hardest difficulty if you're a first timer. If you want to play it again for a challenge, you can. But it really develops the survival aspect of it. Like, you'll be like, no bullets. And then what are you going to do with this zombie that's kind of trying to come at you, right? You're like, what do I do? Well, I'm screwed. Well, you have to do something about it. So that's why it really develops a psychological thing about this game as well. As like, you're basically surrounded what to do. Should you escape or should you fight? So.
All right, guys, we're here, man.
Oh God,
this is it, man. Let me say this right now. I just feel that people will hate because I've seen so many games in here. And look, you have to understand that this was a very tough list. Anybody who makes a top 10 list, I can say, why the hell didn't you include this game in the top 10 list? So, and I have seen some amazing games that surely did not make this top 10 list. So this just shows you that we have been lucky and blessed with superb video games that I've gone through. King Darren, there's no way in hell I am putting flipping an Italian plumber called Mario in my greatest game of all time. So please, come on. Okay, give him some respect. So guys, okay, before we do this, I think we should do a build-up. So let me just do my own build-up. I feel that when you talk about greatest, it's about impact is huge. Definitely is huge. And it's also about encompassing different things upon a game and really pushing things to the very next level.
Sorry, HH, can you ban the guy that said Fallout 3, please?
Oh my God. Damien, why you gotta do this, man?
Bro, you're sick. If you say Fallout 3 to number 1, you're sick in the head. So look, man, so for me, I have, ever since I played this game, I have felt that, yes, this I feel is the greatest game of all time. And it came out many years ago, I think, maybe over 20 years ago. And I still feel like it is the greatest game of all time. And for me, because this game is connected to another game on this list. And when this game came out, and when we were told what they were going to do with this game, I said, no way. And when they actually did what they did with this game, I was like, oh, wow, you've got me. So this pick is a mixture of subjectivity and objectivity. And I explain my objective and my subjectivity of this. Double H's greatest game of all time is...
Uh-oh.
Want to be starting something. You want to be starting something. Want to be starting something. Grand Theft Auto Vice City.
Why did I feel like that was coming?
Now, let me say this right now. So let me explain my subjectivity and my objectivity here. My objectivity to begin with. I already said before that. When I saw GTA 2, I said, if you make this 3D, this is the greatest game of all time. The fact that you can go out there and literally do anything you want is incredible. The fact that there are 5 100 ways you can do a mission, I think is amazing. The fact that I can choose how I want to do this, so I am not at the behest of a game of you have to do it this way. All I have to do, you just have to kill this guy. I just have to get to B. I can use a truck, I can use a car, I can use a plane, I can still, the freedom you're giving is incredible. But as much as GTA 3 was great, GTA 3 I felt lacked personality. So what Vice City did was they kept the freedom and the template of GTA 3. They gave us Ray Liotta, Tommy Vercetti. They took us to the 80s. I'm sorry, guys. Call me biased. If you tell me that I can listen to Black Mike, 1980s, with a Hawaiian...
He's gone.
If you're telling me that I can ride on a motorcycle wearing this, and a motorcycle listening to 80s music with a flip, I can wear like a black tracksuit in the 80s with a flipping machete or a flipping machine gun. I'm like, bro, I just feel like Vice City for me was just the icing on the cake.
And you're like,
GTA aesthetic.
And you're mowing down like people on the sidewalk in your motorcycle, and you're listening to
you mow them over.
The limit.
No. Okay, good. I'll admit. Now, I ask this to anybody in the live chat. If you haven't gone on a rampage in GTA, you're a liar.
Yeah.
Now, maybe that shows how sick we are as human beings. If you haven't gone on a rampage to try and see how long you can last on a 5-star wanted level on GTA, you're a liar. So, but for me, Vice City for me, greatest game of all time. And also, can I also say, I'll maybe say it afterwards. I'll say it afterwards. So, Machine, what is your pick?
It's funny that you had a little dig at my choice, probably unbeknownst to you, a little bit ago. But it's the only choice, man. It's Super Mario Brothers for the NES.
Oh,
the video game par excellence. It's gaming distilled to its barest essence. And I can tell you that as somebody who played it when it first released. It was one of those few gaming experiences that blew my mind completely. The one that was closest to it, but I didn't choose because it aged more than Super Mario Brothers did, was Super Mario 64. But Super Mario 64 blew the lid off things because it introduced the world into a 3D landscape that people just weren't accustomed to. Super Mario blew the lid off things because it introduced people to gaming, period. I was gaming before Super Mario, but the way that it revolutionized the platformer, and the way that it incorporates all these different elements that have just become part of gaming. You know, we take it for granted, but it blew the lid off things, man. It's a freaking plumber that's jumping on top of mushrooms. How weird is that? First of all, that very concept, you know what I mean? As a kid, I was just transfixed completely. Also, I feel like it that it incorporates something but this is I'm sort of sidetracking over here. I'm completely sidetracking. But I have this theory about like what resonates with people in terms of entertainment, and I feel maybe we can get in on that, you and I, HH, on a separate segment. And I feel like Mario Brothers, the concept itself, it ticks all the boxes, man. And it's genius. The very concept is genius of a plumber that delves into this fantastical world and is jumping on turtles and trying to rescue a princess from a dragon. You know?
No. It is a. I cannot deny the classic that is Mario and what it did for the platform. So
do you want a soundtrack that's more epic and not epic, but more like emblematic emblematic of the video game industry, man. That's you
And
listen. Dun, 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 dun. Dude, it's genius. Everything, and then you go down the tube and it's dun, 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 dun.
And also all the different abilities that he has as well.
All the different abilities he transforms into these different things. All the secrets, dude. Forget it, man. It's such a. It really is. It's the video game for me.
Okay.
Nice.
Man behind the mind, take us out.
Okay, here we go. So throughout all these lists of games that I played, this one takes the cake by a long shot. Now, when you define a great game, you look at different things, different skills, different aspects of it, and I look at more of the what does it bring to the table? What impact does it give me? And could this continue as a series even? Now, I had a lot of games I played, but this one I just have a special connection with both subjectivity and objectivity, like HH has with Vice City. This game in particular, I feel like everyone, if they haven't played it, should play. And I have it right here. God of War, the original, the classic 2005 edition. And on top of that, look at all the series it has. I have all of them, and I played almost all of them. I say for a fact that this one and three and the new one is definitely by a long shot the best game I have ever played. Now, why? So this game has brought me through every kind of emotion ever. And I was during a time where I was poor and I did not know about memory cards or anything else like that. So what I would do is I would play my PS4. And if I have to go to sleep or I have to go to school the next day, I will legit put my disc cover up so it will still save my progress kind of and then continue on afterwards. But the elements in this game is nuts. You'll be basically playing as a character who is finding vengeance. And then when I was playing it, I played through all of that. And let me tell you, I was a kid playing this game. I was like 10. And I shouldn't be playing this game. But I was playing this game. And the emotions it brought me through blood, sweat, and legit blood on my fingers. I'm not kidding you. And tears in this game. Like it brought me through everything, including the new one was a really great fanboyish kind of thing for me. But why? Well, the storyline was amazing. The storyline is great. I love it. It brought everything to the table I wanted. And then you be playing with you're going through mythology, like Greek mythology. I mean, there is people that love Greek mythology and everything, but as a person like me who has never learned about Greek mythology and plays this game, I legit did research on Greek mythology on this game. To bring that to the table, that knowledge and
so is it the God of War franchise or specifically that's God of War game on the PS2?
Honestly, I have to give it to this one. If you wanted me to bring to just one, it would be this one, then the new one. Because this one brought something new. It brought something new. Even the director said, he wants to bring something of a different genre to the table. He wants to bring puzzle solving. He wants to create a world that people can go through ancient Greece. Like, has any other game probably done that? Probably, but not like this rate. And plus, you be playing with with gods of Olympus. Like you get to have their powers.
That's absolutely. I'm not going to take anything away from a God of War because I think it's an amazing. It's an amazing franchise, and all the games have been very solid. But it didn't bring anything mechanically new to the table. It was sort of like Devil May Cry, with the Greek mythology edition.
Yeah, exactly. But here's the thing. I know I'm gonna probably get hate for this, or it's but honestly, this is just what I believe that was something very new. People were not thinking like this one's going to be very big, and when people played it, they found out otherwise. And now that it has gone through, like, it's like Mario a little bit. It has gone through like almost every single game, and now the new one where it tried something very new, tried different storyline in general, tried graphics and everything. I mean, words cannot express my love for this game. I love to debate it with anybody, but then I'm telling you, man, that the God of War franchise, it even has puzzle solving that a guy like me who didn't own a PC, so I couldn't just search up on the internet what to do. I had to dive in hours sometimes to solve that little puzzle, and it's so simple. I could have done it a million times, but I just never thought about it. And that brought that is basically my top 10, my number one game of all.
Well, guys, look, man.
Very diverse, very diverse choices, huh?
No. That's why I like to. So basically, so guys, we will put our top lists down there. So obviously, Machine and Thingy, please email me or message me your full top 10 lists so I can put it in the comments thing below, guys. And look, guys, I know, guys, you will hate and you'll do this and stuff, guys, but look, it is what it is. But in the comments below, tell us what other top 10 do you want us to do? What other top 5 do you want us to do? What other top 10 do you want else do you want us to do? And then we'll try and get to it. But guys, I would like to thank Machine. I'd like to thank Man Behind the Mind for please spending these 2 hours for us. And guys, we're out of here. Peace out, stay true. We're out. Peace.
Right, man. Right.